A well-defined problem statement is half the solution in itself. Today we have with us Mr. Abhijit Pani. He is a real innovator, a transformational leader, and driving AI to generate ROI. So, welcome, Mr. Abhijit. So, firstly, let me ask you a very simple question. Spanning a career of 2+ decades, how do you see your career evolved over time in the last 2 decades, and what role AI has played in your career?
Sure. So I think my journey has been from what should you solve versus should we solve it and how should we solve it. So initial careers, I was given a brief. You walk into the organization, you get a brief. This is what you do. This is your thing. So those were the formative years, if you like. Within that, my focus was to set the foundations reputationally, hard skills, but more so observe the successful structures of the organization. How do you sell an idea? How do you promote ethics? How do you do it with integrity? How do you hire the best people to do it? How do you bring and build a high performing culture? So, those were kind of the things I learned a lot in the initial years, which has actually, when I took up management roles and people responsibility, has helped me. AI is fairly recent, so my experience with AI has been in the last 3.5 years, 4 years, roughly. But before that, we did the previous version of AI. I was involved in cloud transformations. Before that, infrastructure, others at a strategy level. So AI has been very formative in the sense I can do a lot more, lot better, lot faster, which is net productivity has increased. I can take up more challenging projects which I couldn't do initially because sheer time and costs. And I could interact with very very smart people like yourselves, your team here, and in the organization I represent even more, and everything to win.
Great. So, speaking from a perspective of implementing technology, specifically AI, how different it is from earlier technologies, like you have spoken about technologies like cloud, and even going in the primitive era, mainframe, or any other technology per se. How implementation of AI has led the opportunities, or second, the threats to businesses.
Right. So, if I understand your question correctly, how does AI enable better business models, if you like?
Yes, and also from a technology standpoint, how these earlier technologies were not so impactful, or were not something which organizations really feared about or looked up to.
Right. Okay. Understood. So if you think of the evolution, you are moving from a hard dependent knowledge economy where one person knew the answer, told the other person how to do it, told the other group of how best to execute it.
Mhm.
That was a linear progression. Any problem, you take any problem, 5 years, 7 years back. Today, you have pod structures. You have experts. That thing hasn't diminished, but you have a lot more informed people working on the problem in a non-hierarchical, non-structural manner. So you have built a structure for efficiency, which is not dependent on a single person. So that is a geometric, proportionally beneficial proposition in the market today. Yesterday, if you had to sell an idea or even a process, you have to go through multiple rounds of vetting just to educate the person what we are doing. Today, the education is very easy. You can use AI, you can use assisted learning, you can have interactive demonstrations, and you can build them fast. So if you are my manager, I can go and talk to you in a much more richer way in 2 days time what used to take me a month to prepare. So that has changed. So that's kind of the second thing is by these changes, the net productivity of the organization has increased because we can do a lot faster, a lot quicker, probably more accurate in most cases. So that has, I think, shifted from knowledge economy to knowledge integration.
Okay. So we know the benefits of AI implementation, from arranging from productivity improvement, and also something which AI would be able to do it much faster and enable new opportunities. But looking from a perspective of threat, how do AI give us that kind of signal that there could be restrictions around implementation of AI from a security standpoint or from an ethics standpoint? How are those things coming into play? And from an organization implementation standpoint, how are organizations looking into these issues?
Right. So we live in a very capitalist society, if you think about it. Organizations probably sole goal is shareholder profit in a meaningful, integral, uh, ethical way, right? We spoke a lot about traceability of your investments, the risk portfolio associated with those investments. I think AI has opened up a lot more risks on one side, but it also given you a lot more assessment tools to vet and circumvent that risk. Right.
Mhm.
So if I can potentially identify risk using some technology, I can also use the same technology to prevent it. Right. So I think the challenge would be, and we will see this evolving a lot more in the future years, is the skill of the personnel using these tools.
Mm.
That is catching up. We have some smart people in the room, as you heard in the first panel, etc. The skill set is improving with time. Cybersecurity as a division is becoming even more powerful, even more important. Ethical boundaries and acts, EU Act, other laws we spoke about, are being defined. So overall, it's moving towards a more framework-led, safe implementation structure. Uh, it'll take time, but that should not deter you from experimenting.
Mm.
So definitely profile. So I will profile this answer in two ways, right? If you have a very regulated industry, follow the rules first before you become maverick and experiment. Definitely experiment, limit the exposure. But if you are in a non-regulated industry, let's say social media, experiment, because the cost of failure is probably minimal than healthcare.
Yep.
So it depends what the context is of the problem you're solving.
Absolutely. And I coming from a background of supply chain, I know that cost of failure is going to charge heavily on our balance sheet, and there was always a concept of failing fast. So that is really the culture going forward for any of these regulated industries. So speaking for those particular segments, like as you mentioned about financial and even for healthcare industry, how guardrails or how these technologies are supervised, and there has to be a human loop in the picture, but in that implementation of technology itself, where is the role or or a safety mechanism included so that the things don't go haywire and out of control, and how does organization look into those areas?
Sure. Uh, think of it as a three-layered solution. The foundational is set up your models, cost unit economics, evaluation frameworks on a technical level. And I told in the panel as well that the engineers do a brilliant job at it, should do a brilliant job at it. So that's your foundational level of monitoring and control, right? Don't give permissions to multiple people. Really define who are the core set of experimental colleagues in the organization, and rationalize that. Lock it in for a period of time till you get it. The second level is on the mid-senior management level, where you continuously put an evaluation framework of how these experiments are going, and be very thorough to kill it. What doesn't work? Very thorough, almost brutal, right? Kill it. But the most important point is how are you getting the approvals and the business cases that tie up to a really industrial business problem, because you can't just do experiments. It has to solve a business problem. So how are you getting money becomes the most important thing. So if I have to go top, get the right budget approved for the right problem to solve, make sure the structures of the problem impact EBIT on the P&L, have an evaluation framework at the middle level where you prove how we will measure it, because what you cannot measure, you cannot improve. And the third is give that brief to your engineering team and give some constraints to work with. Almost literally force them to certain constraints. It's not curtailing innovation, it's actually doing innovation responsibly.
Yes. So, as you also mentioned about innovation, and I found that you are more into innovation and managing innovation per se. So, in the next generation and in the coming times, when AI will take over most of the redundant tasks or the transactional activities, how do you define innovation, and what will lead to more innovation?
Okay, this is where I would touch upon the softer side a bit. So curiosity is number one. The curiosity of the problem solver or the board, and the awareness. That's the second thing. Awareness of what type of problems we should go after. Is it our core business? Is it not? Is this the budget attribution to solving that problem? Is it bounded? Is it free? Nothing is free, by the way, but is it bounded, or we can do a little more experiment? Is it a revenue line that is going to materialize in 18 months, or we have to do in healthcare like a 10 years and take a big hedge? Is it an investment strategy that I will open a bank in China or Africa? So those are kind of the problems. So macro problems. So define the problem. Some you will have a lot more experimentation boundary. Some you will have no boundaries. I mean, almost no boundaries. You can experiment a bit better. But definitely, with all of these said, what is the impact of the P&L? Because if you don't make money, all these ideas are actually not very good. So definitely tie that. So what will really promote these innovations is the mandate of the board to pursue some bold actions. The assurance of the leader saying, we will fail, but we will not lose our reputation failing. We will control the fail, but we'll kill the projects which doesn't matter very soon. And we'll go after core sets of principles, core sets of projects, and core set of revenue generating materials, and we'll do a very good job in that box. So the focus is very important as a leader.
So, from an innovation standpoint, the focus is something that one should be very pertinent about and work towards making something new. And managing innovation is also around the same line of thought.
Correct.
But more from a business as a usual perspective, how do you see AI would automate the process and would make it simple? But from an elimination point of view, where do you see unregulated industries, as you mentioned before, say suppose marketing or something related to more of exploration industry? How do you see that those unrelated industries going forward in time would use AI and would not unuse or overuse AI?
Right. So I think let's take I don't know what is the favorite of Instagram, TikToks of the world, right? A lot of the influencer economy has proliferated. It is not the influence. So of course, it's the influencer's job to have controlled narrative, which is respectful through the platform. But the ownership of the platform becomes paramount to take some of these things very clearly. Who is watching? Is a child watching? Can we curtail it? What are our guardrails in terms of exposing content to the right set of? This is where AI can really help, right? You can analyze a lot more data very quickly. You can profile or delete or uplift videos. You can ban or promote your algorithms. You can reprimand, block users till you vet. A lot of that used to do manual checkings. Somebody will actually watch the video, listen to the content, and then flag it, which happened in the YouTube days. So you can use technology to do a lot more of the right things. So that should not stop innovation. That should create a better structure for innovation in an unregulated industry, if you ask.
Correct. So, and what are the, just following upon the same, what are the threats we perceive from these unregulated industries? Just for the example, Instagram. So we see a lot of deep fakes now getting into these, and also they take a lot of actions based on our input, and it is going to, and it's somewhere affecting the privacy, although it is not something that hasn't been approved or given by the user in when we accept the terms and conditions, but it is overused. And how are we going to have a stop there, that they don't or these platforms don't overuse or try to don't misuse our data from a security standpoint or from a privacy
Right. I mean,
standpoint?
so be very responsible on where you are signing up, what platforms you are using to sign up for. I be responsible towards reviewing your privacy policies and controls on various social media platforms. Use social media blockers at times. There are shield algorithms that can shield your information, etc. That doesn't use your information. So there are certain steps you can do. There are certain steps the platform side has to evolve as well. Like they are doing a lot of with these regulations, they have to comply. So I mean, in your academic term, if you speak, you will never write an academic paper with a reference to Wikipedia. The professors will not like it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's the same thing. It's the first principles. What is the source of information I am sourcing from? And what is the source of information I am giving to source about? You control those two. Some are in your control, control it. Some are platforms, trust and apply those controls. And if you're just doing this responsibly, you're better than 95% of the people using social media.
Absolutely. So moving ahead with the conversation, so we spoke about the regulated, unregulated industries. I would like to go more into an old format or maybe manufacturing industries, and those are considered to be a very legacy industries where most of the economies are still prevalent. And speaking from that standpoint, how do you see the use of AI can better these industries and also the people who are using in these industries? So, say for an example, any maintenance or something around preventive maintenance can be predicted well in advance or navigated, and that can be prevented accordingly. But beyond this, what can be the use of AI in these industries?
Sure. So predictive maintenance obviously is a big topic. So you go from the journey from industrial revolution to manufacturing 4.0. Okay. So today you can use in the manufacturing plant computer vision to detect changeovers. Do you know what is changeover? Changeover is something where you have a productive worker working on a station, going to another station to do certain things, coming back to the station to assemble certain things. You can actually, with computer vision, analyze his productivity and measure to the dot of how efficient he is in the process. You can take tactical decisions in the plant. Is that toolbox there, or should we move it 45 centimeters so that the navigation path doesn't get compromised but the productivity increases astronomically? That's one example, very small example. You can walk through a plant and put all these cameras and detect where all the inefficiency pockets lie. In yesterday's world, you have to walk and find 5 experts who are very, have eye for a problem. Today, computer vision can do it. The algorithms are much more sophisticated to do it. You can do predictive intelligence. You can do defect simulation. So if you go to a company like Rolls-Royce, Rolls-Royce will need to know what defects can happen. But you cannot break the car to generate that defect. It's very costly. So you can use AI to simulate defects and ensure that the defect doesn't happen in the first place. So I can go on and on. So there are a lot of use cases in manufacturing you can do that.
Absolutely. I think, and finding right solution, what solution you are looking for will make more sense.
Correct. But use the technology there. It's evolved and evolving.
Yeah. So digressing from the topic, as we have explored AI in the implementation of regulated, non-regulated, and manufacturing industries, how do you use AI in your regular life?
Well, we have a joke in the company. The Cloudflare incident, which everything dropped. Somebody posted in our channel, my IQ just dropped by 4%. So, so we have become inherently dependent on these technologies, which is fine. The way I use it is in 3 levels. One is first level assessments. So if I want to quickly learn about something and I don't know, I'm entering a pitch, or I have a new client problem in, I don't know, procurement, logistics, something I don't know about. I learn about the industry a lot faster, a lot quickly. I used prompt optimizing algorithms, which coherently makes the results better. So I can go to the crux of the matter rather than reading 50 pages of documents. Mm-hmm. That's one. I also use a lot of forecasting models to predict, okay, what is the opportunity size of AI in a portfolio company? The portfolio is $6 billion. Is it $350 million opportunity? Is it $500 million opportunity? Mm-hmm. I do a lot of benchmarking around that. I look at the industry averages and look at percentages uplift. That helps me shape some of the client narratives I go and speak to. That's the second way. Third is productivity and workflow, which is inherent productivity. I have calendar profilers. I have meeting organizers. I have team transcriptors, where I can see how my team is doing, what they're doing, who is sad, who is not, who is productive, who is not. So there's a lot of workflows I can do to organize the most effective information, and it is in my handle. It sends me an email where I can see, oh, these are the three talking points for the next meeting. Great, I'm prepared. I don't even have to have computer. So we have software integrations from our handheld to do those. So there are a lot of ways I use AI to be more effective, mostly productive, but never 100% rely on it. Still use the brain and the experience we have.
Absolutely. And the use cases of AI in your general life is something I relate a lot. So speaking of the third use case, you spoke about productivity improvement. In general, many people now have access to AI and all the generative AI capabilities. So how does two people using the same AI will stand out or will differentiate in the competition? Because both of them, and this happens with us all the time. So speaking of myself as a student, we do a lot of assignments, and the same AI core is used, and that really takes the same data and somewhere gives similar kind of responses. Because somewhere even the prompt, as you mentioned about using the promptizer which you use for optimizing your prompts, that can also be available to other users as well. So how does your prompt or your inputs really differ so that your output or your answers are different from others?
Sure. Let me give you an example which you will relate. Let's say non-AI. Today you have a very knowledgeable professor. You walk in and say, "Hey sir, can you give me some advice on my career?" Another person says, "Sir, my background is in PwC. I have done 6 levels of consulting. My specialization is this. This is what I am going to do. That's my ambition. Can you give me very focused advice on how can my career be impacted based on what I've learned?" Answers will be different, right? So the quality of integration with the tool is important. How you structure it, how you ask it. Ask machine to help you to ask better, right? So that's number one. That's the differentiating factor, is how your questions are better than the other. In a scenario where you suggested if the questions are the same, I always tell what is your follow-up, because you'll never get a 1 point answer unless you're checking for a fact.
Correct.
Give me the population of Denmark. It's a fact. Okay. It's also a fact indexed in January to October 2024, last version of GPT. So you have to check the facts as well. My point is, what are your follow-ups? And to build a good narrative, your follow-ups have to also be really good. So you should have follow-up questions. You should have inference questions. And then, what is your aggregation methodology? How you have taken all this information and used your experience, plus some human interactions, to formulate a final opinion. That's very important. That is what makes the difference than a person who's just relying on ChatGPT to do assignments.
Absolutely. So this will be the next technique I'm going to use for
Yeah.
my assignments.
For sure. All the
I
best.
borrowed this from you. So beyond AI and beyond usage of AI in your regular life, do you see any other, like say suppose in your day-to-day personal life, managing your tasks or managing your activities, how do you see technology changing that from a implementation standpoint? Say suppose now if you are a health freak, you would be tracking your health or meals. So how much of the tech penetration and AI penetration is there in your daily activities?
Right. Clearly, I'm not a health freak. My wife is. So I'll tell you what she does. So she has these apps where she measures her food, and she's a gym person. She treks, and she now can go use AI and look at the altitude, type of shoes she wants to buy, what adjustment in the sole, custom sole she has to do, what meals she has to eat for Everest trekking. So those are all the things she uses for a general purpose, right? We and for in a fun way we ask AI to build new cocktail menus. So that's a great use. In fact, one of my local bartenders, I configured ChatGPT on his mobile. He's trying experiments on cocktails, and every time we walk into the restaurant, he says, "Hey, ChatGPT told me to do this. I have added my own flavor. How do you like it?" So these simple examples, but you can augment your life in a lot more ways. You can do profiles. So my spouse likes plants. We use AI detection lenses to look at the health of the plant at home, and then it tells us what soil to buy or what to change, what components to change. So like I can go on. There are a lot of things we use. My daughter is 11 years old. She just launched last weekend her skincare brand. She wants to become an entrepreneur. So we did create a website with AI-enabled product assortments, import list from Korea to import the products, so on and so forth. So you can use a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I think the use cases are very wide, and it can be implemented almost everywhere. So I think it was a very nice conversation, and learning from your perspective from a business side how AI is changing the landscape, and from a strategy, enterprise strategy, and also from an innovation perspective, AI is assisting innovation or accelerating innovation. So that would really be a game changer for innovation and for organizations implementing it. And even the use cases you have spoken are truly loud, and can resonate with almost all. And the use cases beyond in your personal life is something that I'm going to definitely borrow and definitely implement going forward. It was very nice speaking to you. Thank you.
Pleasure. My best wishes.
Thank you.
Thank you.